You may have seen a public service announcement circulating on social media that the U.S. Attorney's Office for Idaho just released. Joining us today to talk about that PSA and the concerns of rising crime in Canyon County, which is what this PSA was really focused on, is U.S. Attorney Josh Hurwit for the District of Idaho. Josh, first and foremost, you are very active on social media. I think that's a really important thing that people living in Idaho see. Yeah. So why create a PSA?
Well, Morgan, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be with you. We wanted to create a PSA for the reason that you identified. We want people to understand what their government is doing to serve them. This PSA is about, as you said, violent crime in Canyon County. And in the summer months in general, across the country, it's typical that we see an increase in violent crime. And so we want to make sure that those in Canyon County and around the state of Idaho recognize that we are here to enforce the law and to target the most violent offenders in our communities to make sure that justice is served. And we do that with our partners out in Canyon County at the Sheriff's Office and the police chiefs as well.
Okay. And this was something that was your idea, or where did the idea come from?
Well, it came from our office, but really it reflects the partnership that we have with the sheriffs across the state, the chiefs of police across the state, and in particular, we have great relationships with those in Canyon County. And there's a specific task force in the Treasure Valley called the FBI Metro Crimes Task Force that is staffed with task force officers and FBI agents from Canyon County that focus primarily on violent crime and gang violence.
And it's important for people to know that you are the highest law enforcement official in the state of Idaho. You work for the federal government, but in our state, the highest form of law enforcement.
At the federal level,
yeah.
I have jurisdiction over the entire state. With my office, we cover every corner and every nook and cranny of our state. And it's a wonderful state. When we focus on crime, we don't want to give people the false impression that Idaho is suffering. But having said that, when we see an increase in violent crime like we're seeing in Canyon County, we surge our resources to address that threat.
Okay. As we're talking about this PSA, I think it's important people see a piece of it. It's about 1:15 long, but we're going to show you guys a quick segment of it now.
Federal crime means federal time. Federal prosecutions mean tougher sentences and no early release. There is no parole in the federal system. Offenders serve real time.
To our citizens, if you have any information about illegal gang or gun activity, please contact the number on your screen. We continue our commitment to make your neighborhood safer. Thank you.
That was Canyon County Sheriff Kieran Donahue there, and like you said, you worked with other police chiefs out in Canyon County. What areas of crime are you guys seeing rising? You talked about violent crime, but what specifically?
So when we talk about violent crime at the federal level, it's usually an intersection between drug trafficking and federal firearms offenses. So individuals that are carrying firearms as part of their drug trafficking activities, which makes it illegal under both federal and state law. And then individuals that are prohibited from possessing firearms usually because they have a past felony and a past violent crime conviction that are continuing to possess firearms. And so we want to make sure that the community is safe by addressing those cases.
And these are federal offenses, like you said, and those carry federal time, and there's no federal parole.
Correct. Generally speaking, in our system, in the federal system, sentences are higher. The consequences are more significant. People go out of state to federal penitentiaries. So that's an opportunity to, again, working with our partners to target those individuals who pose a public safety risk in, again, Canyon County or anywhere, and get them into a federal system, not only where they're removed from Idaho, but have better programming and an opportunity to then re-enter society in a peaceful and productive way.
Of all counties in the state of Idaho, would you say you're seeing the biggest uptick in Canyon County, and that's why you're focusing there?
That's right. There was a report actually released yesterday by ISP that identified that in general, crime is decreasing in Idaho, which is great. But in Canyon County, that's not the case. That's the only county. And so that's why we're surging our resources to that area.
What else can you guys do about it?
Yeah. Our success, and we've had great success in combating violent crime in Canyon County over the last few decades. It depends on partnerships. So we're strengthening those partnerships. As you can see in the PSA, we're with Sheriff Donahue, we're with Caldwell Chief Rex Ingram, we're with Nampa Police Chief Joe Huff. And it's about that community involvement as well. So we worked on this PSA with the Idaho Commission on Hispanic Affairs, the Idaho Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and other Hispanic leaders to make sure that when people see this PSA, as I think you could see from it, it's about reaching out to the community to help law enforcement keep them safe. And we have partnerships between federal and local law enforcement, but ultimately it's the partnership between law enforcement and the community that makes a difference.
Yeah, you won't know about things going on unless they come to you and feel safe enough
Absolutely.
to come to you and report. So
it's all about trust.
Exactly. All right. U.S. Attorney for the District of Idaho, Josh Hurwit, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We are back after this.